Last time we asked the bigger question, what do modifications actually give you? Do they make the car truly faster or just give you a little bit more room at the limit?
So for this video, we're digging into data. We took the fastest lap from a fully modified GT4 RS and put it up against the fastest lap from our orange 4 RS. Modified only for adjustability. Same track, same driver.
To find out exactly what the modified car gained at Circuit of the Americas.
And more importantly, why?
So before we tell you what we found, we want to show you the evidence first.
All right, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to play both laps side by side so you can watch them in real time. Pay attention to the brake zones, mid-corner speed, minimum speed, throttle application, steering, and especially where one car starts building an advantage.
Once you've seen the laps for yourself, we'll come back, do our full breakdown. So as you watch, see if you can spot where the gaps start to open up. Let's watch the lap. To kick this off, Felix, let's set some of the groundwork, right? Because these two laps happened on completely separate days. So it wasn't like you took the car out early in the morning with the orange and you set the flyer and then sent it out with the SSR car later in the day. SSR car happened in like the worst conditions possible at the very end of a track day versus the orange car's lap happened, what, last year, February, in more idealistic weather. So how does that kind of change things when it comes to the two cars?
It changes a lot, and we're gonna see it in the video where there's gains in some places just strictly due to weather. The orange car, it was driving with two different mentalities. The orange car was like, I got nothing to lose, I got something to chase, right?
Yeah.
And then the SSR car, it's literally the last session of the last day, literally my last lap. I'm like, it's a more of a, I need to make this happen, right?
Yeah. So let's go ahead and pull up the VBox footage and see where we can find the differences, because I have at least, what, 4 places where I think most of the gains were made. But let's go ahead and roll it. We're gonna start on the front straight at Coda, so let's go ahead and move this back. So the front straight at Coda, there's not a huge disparity between the two cars. You're going into turn 1, and one thing that was immediately obvious to me was steering angle and then brake pressure. So going into turn 2 is where we start seeing some of the bigger advantages start coming into play at that point, right? Where you see the gap in the delta start increasing. So just between 1, 2, and going into 3, the things that I observed were just that. You had more steering angle in the car, you had more throttle input, you also had less brake pressure, yet you're going faster. This makes sense.
Yeah, and it's going to be a common trend. The reason you did mention that I'm braking less, right? That I'm braking less, and then I'm getting on throttle in a better trend or maybe earlier, and that's just because the car overall has more grip. That will be attributed in some places to simply the tires, right? Because these are real deal slick Pirellis.
And they were stickers when you got them.
They're stickers when I got them.
So you're the first one who put like the first 4 or 5 laps on them. You overcooked them a little bit in that session. Came back in, did tire pressures, and then went out.
Went back out. Yeah. So whether they completely switched back on, they were good enough for this. So,
they were good enough.
Yeah, they were good enough for this. But yes, so braking a little bit earlier, getting to throttle a little bit earlier, which kind of makes no sense. But if the car has much more overall grip, and that's the way I'm exploiting it, kind of in the middle, where I'm letting the car carry a little bit more speed in between inputs.
Yeah, and I think at turn 2 is where you see the biggest, where you start seeing the gain start, because you're using a combination of all of it, right? You're starting to get under the aero load. You have the tire underneath you, so you're able to get on throttle quicker, which is why you have much more of a lead going into turn 3 in the SSR car versus the orange car.
Yeah, and I want to just talk about the speeds. The SSR car is going in at 10 miles an hour faster here at this moment that we have it stopped.
Yeah.
And that 1,000%.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal, but that 100% has to be, it's a combination of things, but aero's playing a big factor in that 10 mile an hour gap.
Yeah, for sure. So let's play through the S's, because here you're not under any sort of real aero load, right? You're doing below 60, 70, I think at that point.
I think we bring it down from 90s to like 80s, so like it's barely any aero.
It's barely under any aero. So here going into you're going into 6 now at this point. You're rounding about 6A, 6B. So it's like a 2. It's almost like a double apex turn.
Correct. And this is this is the first place where we start seeing
the gap increase significantly. Where we start seeing the gap increase significantly, and a few things to notice here as well. The same trend continues where you have more steering, you have less brake pressure, and you're on the throttle sooner. But a thing to note is that maybe because you had less brake pressure, the car was actually offline. The SSR car was offline the slightest bit, going in on exit of 6.
Right here. Yep.
But you still managed to create more of a gap in this entire section. So if we look at it, you're more towards the center
in the SSR car.
In the SSR car, but the gap is still existing there, right? And one of the things that we talked about here is that this seems like it would be almost entirely mechanical grip when it comes to the combination of the suspension setup and the tires. What are your thoughts on that?
I can definitely agree with that. The one thing I will say is between cars, here at this point through 6, there's like, I'm on polar opposite ends of the confidence in each of these cars, right? Because I know 100%, and that's why I'm a decent driver in the orange car, I'm 100% expecting it to do something. The SSR car...
we can tell that by looking at the steering.
Exactly.
Because your steering looks more frantic in the orange car versus in the SSR car, it's much smoother, going in and out of these corners.
So yeah, here there's definitely a combination of maybe like, I mean, it's 79, maybe a tickle of downforce, but that can probably be left out of the equation. But here, the SSR car, since it's run lower and has the Club Sport kinematics, the car, that removes kind of weird behaviors from push to snap, or the car having an abrupt change in toe, or behavior because of the suspension, how it's going over curbing.
Yeah.
But I won't say the word, I'll say it later.
Yeah, we'll say it later. But so far, you do have a much more composed car, it seems. But right now...
Again, following the trend of way more steering.
But it it appears that so far the aero hasn't been that significant to create this increase in the delta so far. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay, so we're coming out of 6. Let's go ahead and look through, because the next big section that we see going into it is between 6, 7, and 8. So here you're going into 7. Looks like pretty much your usual line. You're on the throttle. Again, more steering input. Again, less brake pressure. Again,
Calmer car.
a much calmer car. And you can see that the delta starts to increase or starts to steady, but then once we get into the brake zone here, that's when the orange car starts to close the gap again. So while we're on the back straight, this is one of the trends that I saw where maybe unexpectedly to me, where the aero starts to help more, is that you're gonna use less brake overall throughout this entire trend. And I think that can be attributed to the aero on the car. The aero on the car is making it so that you don't have to have a 10 pedal at every single brake zone at COTA. Especially at turns, 11, 12, you didn't have a 10 pedal there. The brake was significantly less.
Significantly less, and also a decent amount later, right?
Now it is worth mentioning though, at turn 11 during your orange fast lap,
12.
Turn 12,
There was a yellow flag.
there was a yellow flag. So
I was somewhat conservative.
you were
there,
somewhat conservative through there, so there might be something to be said about that. But ultimately, the trend prior to you even getting that, we're seeing the trend already. Less brake pressure, later brake pressure, and that, I mean, you have, AP brakes on the orange car. So it's not like you have less brake under the orange car.
Back then, those were stock brakes.
Oh, back then those were stock brakes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I stand corrected. Then those, at that point, you have stock brakes, but the aero load alone with the PFCs is just making it so that you have to use less brake pressure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the car literally has twice the downforce. So
And the grip.
And the grip has twice the downforce. So that initial pedal that you can give it is probably greater. But again, on the SSR car, I'm hunting for not only piecing the lap together, but I feel this in all our cars. You hammer 12, and you're probably going to suffer a little bit through the stadium section. So it's me trying to strike a balance of braking as late as possible. The one thing I will say is in the brake zones, that orange car just wiggles a ton.
Yeah.
And the SSR car, like, it feels like you throw the anchor and just...
And that might be the aero creating that stability at that point,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Where you have so much more aero creating pressure on the car, which naturally will slow it. Plus, under the braking, it would make sense to me that the aero in that case would be doing a lot of work.
And I mean, I can't think of this without mentioning Matt's car, because Matt's car was the one that we had in the whole kerfuffle or the comparison between all three cars. And you saw the onboard, like, he's carrying 4X, and you could tell he was burying the brakes.
He's burying the brakes in there. I'm like, damn, dude, he made up, what?
Like 3 cars?
0.5 seconds just in the brake zone at 12, which was pretty impressive. So.
Yeah. But yeah, we see that positive trend there. So the orange car does lose to the SSR car through just a high-speed brake zone.
A high-speed brake zone, yeah. So now we're going to go ahead and continue on through the stadium sections, followed up by turn 13, 14, and 15.
Let me talk about this.
Go ahead.
Because what I was going to mention here is you'll see I have less steering in the orange car here. And then when we're going through section 7 or 8, I would consider it like it involves as much wheel as going through the stadium section. In the orange car, it's definitely like very knife edge, where I'm taking wheel out of it because I'm scared to combine inputs, right? While the SSR car or a car with added grip via suspension or tires is allowing me to add wheel and kind of is allowing me to explore versus being on the ragged limit or being scared that the car is going to loop around, right? So two different approaches or two different ways of driving these cars.
It makes total sense, right? And just going through the rest of the carousel, we'll let this play out through turn 19.
Again, more steering.
You have more steering yet again and more throttle, even though Felix likes to use that, 0 to 100 throttle chop in the carousel section. You're carrying more speed and the car is reacting less.
Correct.
Right? So this just leads me to a few conclusions here as we round about turn 20 and head towards the front straight. to me, at Circuit of the Americas, the aero only made sense in braking, big brake zones.
Big brake zones. Okay.
Where you're going into it with a lot of speed.
Mm-hmm.
2, the carousel, and that's it.
Into the S's. Into the S's, the car definitely had way more stability.
It has more stability.
It loses it through the S's, right? Because we start losing speed.
We'll give it that, right? So we have, 4 sections where the aero helped. The rest of this, to me, seems like it's just
Mechanical.
tire, and suspension.
I can agree, yeah. And it's hard to depict this, or it's hard to talk about this, but like over curbing, that orange car feels pretty sketch. The SSR car, like, it looks much more composed.
You can see it in the video. You'll see that the SSR car looks more stable going over curbing. You don't really see it moving or jostling around as much. But ultimately, the amount you're getting the added benefit of stability under speed. Sure, I'm pretty sure there was a sense of stability when you're going down the back straight into 12,
Absolutely.
getting onto the brake. So you're getting a sense of confidence at that point, right?
Correct.
Where that might assist you mentally more than it actually does, which leads us to the real conclusion here, right? How much seat time or how much experience do you need to have to really exploit this minimal amount of improvement when it comes to the aero versus the tires and suspension? Because to me, the tires and suspension, again, did way more throughout this entire lap than the aero did.
I mean, we see it, right? Like, we saw it today. Yeah, the aero is literally only going to benefit you in a couple places if it's tuned right. The suspension, it's going to only benefit you in a couple places. So what my whole takeaway from all this is that you throw all these parts in the car and you need to be aware of where you're going to gain that 0.1, 0.05. And most of us can gain that from just going out and doing more laps.
I think that's right. But what I want to, okay, and I don't know if we should restart this, but you said that the suspension only helps you out a little bit. And to me, the suspension is the thing that helps you out the most throughout this entire lap. The suspension and the tires.
Okay. Where I'm going to defend that, or the reason I'm saying it's a little bit, is because the car seems close to being as capable, and close is all relative, right?
Yeah.
It seems to be close as capable as a car, because we've never had the orange. I mean, we can't put the car on 18s and Pirellis. Let's just be honest. So we can't do a 1-for-1. But what I will say, and this is going to lead me into my next question for you, because you see all my onboards, right? You see how many laps I do. The SSR car, you said it. I went out for 3-4 laps, and they were all potentially in the 15s or 16s.
Yeah.
Came back in, but I just never finished the lap in that number because it would be thrown away by traffic. I went back out, another round of 17s, 16s, 15s. The orange car with the stock suspension, with the sticky rubber, seems to get overworked, and it's literally like a one-lap wonder car.
Yeah.
SSR car is not a one-lap wonder car.
But yes, I mean, that
So
could be
you can
attributed to the tire performance.
The tire performance.
And the suspension.
The suspension keeping up, right?
And the suspension keeping the geometry of the car in check.
Yeah, and the suspension being able to, like, the dampener's not getting overheated or overworked, right? Because it's a race dampener that's meant to work on the track, not a dampener that's supposed to do street and track stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, this just further reinforces what we have always been kind of preaching on here, right? Mm-hmm. Is that the marginal improvement in performance, and let's just separate the kinematics and tires from the actual aero kit, right?
Okay.
Aero kit on the SSR is like $25,000.
The aero loan is going to be half that. The aero loan is going to be probably 15, I think.
We'll pull up the correct numbers.
Yeah, we'll pull
here,
up the correct numbers.
But is it really worth spending that much money on this entire aero kit? Visually, I think it looks really cool. The hood pass-through looks awesome. The wing, I think I like the wing because it's more minimal. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about getting more performance out of it, I think the Dundon wing would probably be better. The Valkyrie wing.
Yeah.
And then, a Vera splitter. that lets you put the car lower so you can use the kinematics.
Use the kinematics, yep.
You would have to be somebody driving at your level to really exploit everything you can out of that. Because a lot of people are running lap times with these built cars that are in the 20s. Maybe they're scratching the 19s. And I don't think, for that amount of money, I don't think it's worth it. And I think these people might be attributing what they're doing in the car to the parts, but really, if they stripped off all those parts and just kept the tire setup and the suspension, they would still be able to do the same thing.
They would see the gains. Yeah, one thing I do have to say is, you said just keep, what did you say, to keep the aero, or to just doing the aero?
For looks, because it looks cool.
For looks, yeah, but you couldn't, because I don't think the stock dampers could take it. But that's more on the technical side. We probably don't even need to include this.
What are your recommendations for a new person who's buying maybe a GT4, maybe a GT4 RS? What would be your recommended setup if they're already within, they already got some time in the seat and they want to go a little bit faster, they want to have a little bit more confidence behind the car? What would be your recommendation for mods? Putting him on the spot here, guys.
Yeah, putting me on the spot, because
putting him on the spot.
I mean, if you've been out there driving on 200s and you've gotten super close to the limit of the car, and you've had coaching, and you have someone like Cameron Lawrence hop in your car and you're within a couple seconds than him, 1 second or two, then I'm like, go ahead and get those stickies, right? But it's until you're there that I feel there's so much to gain. And what I was gonna say initially is like, what do you recommend? Get a coach. But then you twisted it and said, if they're ready, right? So if they're ready, I would say go to a Hoosier, because a Hoosier's still a tire that talks to you decently. We're about to test the R8s, so you guys stick around for that.
Subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see that. But ultimately, what I'm getting from you is stay away from all the extra mods that they're slapping on these cars, right? I mean, the added tons of aero, is it necessary? I'm going to say no.
Is it necessary? No. Am I going to keep modding our cars? Yes.
So there is that aspect of it, right? But even in the orange car, what exterior mods have you done to that car?
Nothing.
Exactly. So I mean, the most modified car that we have in the fleet right now is the car that I drive.
Yeah.
Every other car stays under some sort of stock trim, with the exception of adjustability because of the camber numbers that we're trying to run.
So we don't destroy our tires.
So we don't destroy, because we're trying to increase the longevity of the tires. But again, you said this time and time again, you can't adjust the camber and the alignment of the car until you really start leaning on the car. Because if not, then you're going to end up with weird tire wear because you're not exploiting that 3.4 or whatever the camber is.
The camber is the camber number, yeah.
The camber number that you're looking for. So once you get to a good point of exploiting a lot of the car, I wouldn't even say 95%, because I don't consider myself in that 90th percentile of drivers. Even now, I want to strip down the yellow car just to see what that difference is. But I mean, my fastest lap was on street tires over Hoosiers anyway, so that just goes to show spending more time in the seat is more important than modifying your car.
Yeah, there's more to be found in the seat than in the catalog. 100%.
There you go, guys. So that's the conclusion we came up to, guys. You guys just watched the video. Do you guys agree with our conclusion? I mean, listen, numbers don't lie. So if manufacturers don't like what we're saying, then they would have to come up with numbers that would tell us a different story at this track. Because if you go to the Nürburgring, we found 10 seconds. That's a completely different story. So let us know what you guys think. Are we tripping? If you've modified your car, tell us what you gained out of modifying your car. I think there is stuff to be gained.
Absolutely. And maybe we're not seeing the biggest disparity because the 4RS is so freaking good out of the factory with a couple parts.
Yeah, I mean, but let us know what you guys think, guys. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to see us flame modded cars just a little bit more.
That's it from us.
Peace.
That's it from us today, guys. We'll see you guys at the racetrack.